Play it cool.
Great that you're joining us. It's a very special day today because we are doing the first Oriental Empire stream. So we're here today, as usual, with me, Saskia, and Niels.
Hi guys.
And well, Oriental Empires is in the beta right now, a closed beta. And today we are very excited because we can show you some first gameplay.
Yeah, it's a title that we're very excited about. It's a 4X strategy game with civilization building mechanics. It's all set in ancient China. So our friend Bart is going to show you for the first time on our live stream the gameplay. So yeah, we are here merely just to answer all your questions on the chat. If you have a question, ask it in the chat, and Bart will also try to answer it in the live stream itself. So we hope you guys enjoy and yeah, have fun.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome on behalf of myself as well. My name is Bart and I'll be showing you around the some of the basic game mechanics of Oriental Empires. So in the meantime, like Neil said, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat right here and we're going to start playing. So those of you who are completely unfamiliar with Oriental Empires, it is a turn-based strategy game, very much with 4X features into it. So it is a game where you, using turn-based mechanics, develop your own nation within the history of ancient China, set between 1500 BCE and 1500 AD. And during that time, you're going to vie for power with all the other Chinese factions out there. So it is very much a game with a very specific setting and with a lot of history and flavor to it. So we're going to jump into a single player game and I'm just going to show you some of the starting mechanics, and after we're going to jump into a save game that I prepared for you so we can see a bit more late mid game. So First of all, we're going to see the starting factions here. There's quite a list to choose from, and each of the factions have their own like pluses and bonuses, etc. Though I should say that this game tries to be fairly historical in a lot of ways. That also means that, for example, every faction you'll find has access to spearmen, to archers, etc. So we can see from the different factions, they all have a nice story to it. We can see where on the map they start, and the map is very, very big, guys. We're going to see that in a second. And we can also see the buffs and penalties each faction has. So for example, the Ba faction over here, they start all the way in the south. They are fairly good in general combat. They're also they're not the best of farmers, but they are farmers, but they have a reduced agricultural rate development. So they develop new farming technologies, etc. slower. And also we see they have an increased cultural development rate, and what that exactly means we're going to see in a second. So let me just pick a faction to start with. I'm gonna choose these guys because I like the logo with the sword. So this is the Wu faction, and we're gonna hit play game. So in this game, the goal is to become the dominant faction in China, and you do that by achieving some victory conditions, and this can be the strongest one, or just have all the other factions acknowledge you as their rightful emperor. So we're gonna zoom out a bit, and we're gonna see this is our starting position. We start off with one city or one town initially. It's fairly small to start with. We can zoom all the way in and see the buildings in detail. We start with a group of settlers to found a new settlement over here. And we start with a faction leader and his entourage right here, and he's got some heavy infantry following him, so he's also a fairly good combat unit. So I'm going to zoom out again, and this is one of the most awesome features of this game, is that you can zoom in and out all the way, and it's completely seamless, and it allows for very immersive gameplay, really. So the first thing I will do is I'm going to select these guys, and I'm going to order them north to start a new faction. So having done that, I'm going to order my leader to scout a bit around, and we are going to see if we can develop our town a bit. So this is the basic town overview. We can build things, we can recruit things, we can get all the information on the town, so we can get the income levels, the food production levels, the unrest levels, and also breakdowns of these numbers. So there's a whole lot to this game, and there's much more than we can actually cover today, so I apologize in advance if I skip over things, if I forget to mention things, or if I just only mention things that should be explained thoroughly. There are also a number of tile-specific buildings you can build. In this case, there are only ports we can build here, but these can also be things like shrines, mines, etc. Let's start by queuing up some farms. Farms are very important. The thing about Oriental empires is you want to get money to fund your armies, and in order to get money you need population you can tax. In order, of course, to get the population, you need to have enough food for that. So farming is extremely important, and will remain important throughout the game. There are other ways of making money, like trade and mining, and also just generally specific resources, but farms are always going to be your core from which you will expand. Let's also recruit a bit of a garrison here in our town. There could be bandits roaming about, and if our town is unprotected, we would lose the town immediately, and that would end the game fairly quickly. So having done that, we're going to just end turn. Notice, let's do technology first actually. So technology is organized into 4 categories. We got power, craft, thought, and knowledge, and you'll be researching one technology for each of these categories every time. So for each category I can choose one. Farming, we are farmers, so we've already developed farming. If you play with a nomad faction, which is very much possible, you can also, you have to research farming in order to start doing it, because your people will basically be herders. But I'm going to start researching improved
Excuse
farms.
me, Bart, we have a question in the chat from Wako2K, and he's wondering, will there be random resources on the map for each game, or will the map look the same every time?
So the way it currently is, we're playing on the historical map of ancient China, but the resources that can be found in the game, such as copper mines, rhinos, all these types of things, they are already randomized. The full game will also ship with a random map generator, so if you don't want to play the historical Chinese map, you can have a random world as well. But as it stands, the resources are always randomized. I hope that answers your question. Let's continue with crafts. I want to get some production going fairly quickly, so I'm going to research some pottery. Actually, we're going to do foundry first, because that will allow us to clear forest. And you might have noticed that we are surrounded by a lot of forest, and we need to clear that land in order to get more farming ground. Then, of course, for thought, so you got all these schools of thought that developed in ancient China. There's like Confucianism, there is like a vast amount of philosophies and theories, and they're all developed around the same time or in parallel with each other, more or less, and the game reflects that. So it's not like a game where you choose one religion or one point of view and you stick with that. No, they all develop in time, and depending on the type of temples you build, you specialize. So let's start by increasing our authority, which is always a good thing, and I'm going to explain to you later in a bit what exactly that means. And we're going to research the calendar, for it gives us access to the astronomy, which is very good. Or at least a very good safeguard. So having done that, we're going to click continue, and now we're going to end turn. And you'll see that our troops will only start moving once I hit the end turn button, because this is a simultaneous turn-based strategy game. So all the orders of all factions are executed at the same time. So it's not like you always react to someone else doing stuff. It's always you have to guess in advance where they're going, or strategize where they're going, or try to force them to go your way. So that to get the best position for combat. That was our first turn over here. And we're going to continue to scout a bit to see if there's some decent farmland around. We're also, I think, going to try and recruit some more civilians. So these civilians are your settlers. You can recruit them. They cost 500, which is quite a lot actually in early game. You can see it's pretty much almost like 1/3 of your starting funds, and that's definitely a big chunk of money. So you want to protect them as well. So I'm going to recruit them. And I'm going to recruit some nobles to go with them to keep them safe, because if you lose those guys, and they're very unprotected, and if you lose those early, you are not going to be happy. It's just a huge chunk of money that you wasted in early game, when it's especially important. So I'm going to move these guys here and try and found a nice settlement here on the ground. It's not ideal, but it will have access to water, so I get naval trade later on. Plus there is this icon over here you can see, and this is one of the resources that can be found in game, and these are the ones I was talking about that are randomized. So this one in particular gives +3 extra food, so that's always nice to get your colony growing early. There are also the rhinos, which give a huge money boost. There are the fish, which also provide food, and a couple of others as well. So having done that, we're going to hit and turn again.
Hey Bart, we have another question.
So there's nothing region-based at this point in game, though there are specific researches you can do that help you develop research within a specific category faster. So if you establish tea culture, for example, that will actually help your further thought development. Also, building specific temples will give you a bonus to a specific category of research. But there's nothing region-based at this point. So I'm just gonna... So there's nothing here but trees and mountains. So that's a bit unfortunate. So we're probably gonna send him away for there. And we have a new heir, so to our left we can see the different events popping up each turn. So for example, we finished the farm over here, and we have a new heir joining us. And an heir is always good to have. It's an additional general that will help you in your fights if you want to. It is someone who can help govern towns where there's a lot of unrest to make that. Make them relax more, the people, or just to suppress them with force. And of course, having an heir ensures that when your leader dies, there is someone to take his place, if there's no one, you might end up in a civil war, which was actually quite common in China. So press and turn again. So this gives you a rough idea of the start. I'm just going to found a city over here, and then I'm going to load up a game where I'm a bit further in, so I can show you guys a hell of a lot more. Like I said, this is a very big game, and we want to show as much as possible here. So showing you the early game only wouldn't really be as interesting as it could be. One thing to note here is that we actually found some bandits, so they are roaming about, and they're just light spearmen, but they will attack you where you're very weak. They will hunt your scouting parties, and even worse, if they come close to your cities, they might actually burn and pillage your farms, destroying them, causing food shortages, etc. So over here, in the meantime, I found it in a new city, and the first thing you'll do is queue up some farms there to have your city grow as quickly as possible. Also, it's already growing because we have this deer unit, so they already provide +3 food. And the city itself provides 2 by default, so we got 5 food already, so we can support about 5 population.
So Bart,
so weather at the moment does not affect movement of the units, though of course there is, the terrain does. There are weather effects such as storms which can damage you. There are floods which can harm your units and your cities. So there are definitely weather effects in, but they're not directly movement related. And having done this, I'm just going to leave this game for now. This is just showing you quick the starting positions, and I'm going to load up another game that I prepared for you where we are in turn 72 compared to turn 4 where we just were. So you're going to see more late game. And I'm playing a different faction. I'm playing the Han faction here. And I'm quite far ahead, as you can see. So let's zoom out a bit. And here we can see our current position. So we got a good number of cities already. And we can see we got some allies over here. They are my vassals now. I subjugated them quite quickly in game. There are some potential enemies to my south, and over here as well, the green guys. And of course, we got to the above. We got another 2 different factions as well we could potentially fight. So I'm going to ask you guys. Of course, we want to get into some battles, get into some sieges, perhaps. So who should we attack? Should we go north to the red guys over here, to the Shang faction, or should we go to the Wu faction we were just playing as? Let me know. Mongolia. Mongolia is quite far away, actually. What time period is this game? So this is the I see Wu. So this game launched for 1500 BC to 1500 AD, and we're gonna attack the Wu faction. I just heard, so that's good. We're gonna go south and attack the Wu, the green guys. I got a nice army prepared here already. Some of you guys asked me again if I could zoom in a bit, so we're gonna zoom in right now, and I got one of my armies prepared here. These are light infantry, though they are trained infantry. They're not just militias. And we got a nice combination of bowmen, halberdiers, more or less, and regular spearmen. So we got a nice full stack of units over here, and we're going to send them south.
So Bart, there's another question here, and guys, please let me know in the chat if it's coming through.
So the amount of recruits you have, for settlers it's directly tied to population, because the number of settlers you recruit is directly detracted from the population number. For the rest of the units, there is a pool depending on the type of buildings that are available in that specific settlement. So if you got like a palace, that means you can recruit more nobles. If you got a barracks, you can recruit more trained units. So that's generally the way it works. So we're going to send our troops south, and in the meantime you can see we got a whole bunch of cities we can manage, or we can let it be automated. We can do that as well. So we're going to go south, And I want to send another army, actually, so let's recruit some more units, some lighter units at the east gate.
So we have another interesting question.
Yeah, so this game covers a huge part of history, so 1500 BC to 1500 AD and the whole evolution in between. So you start off with very small roaming factions. They're going to grow into what we call the Warring States era, and in this era you'll see, like, this is actually where we are right now. If we go to the technology screen, we can certainly see that we just entered the Warring States era, and where we have factions really fighting, vying for power, and that's what we just see happening right here. So in the early game, you'll see more like raiding and scout parties skirmishing, whereas in this stage of the game, you'll see full-fledged armies battling it out. And will we get gunpowder units near the... and yes, there will be gunpowder units in-game, definitely. So actually there's a small battle to the south. Let me just pause it real quick. So this is one of my scouting armies I send out south after I vassalize these guys. And they're actually at war with these factions. I thought we might be threatened by the white guys, the Ba faction. So I sent an army to help them out. Unfortunately, my army got succumbed by sickness and some other events, weakening them in advance. And we're now finding some of their screening parties with light units and bowmen to see us, but we're gonna actually charge them immediately, make them run around and run away like a little kitten. So there we go, we're going into combat. We got units flanking them as well, so we're fighting on two different fronts. Unfortunately, some of my guys failing their morale check because, like I said, they were caught by disease, by multiple combats or battles already. So they're a bit tired and worrisome. They're far away from home, and they just want to run. Unfortunately, the good news is I'm not really attached to this army. This is one of my first armies I had, and they're all outdated units anyway. So they're fighting off more of my units. Unfortunately, their bowmen are standing their ground pretty well in this battle. Seems like we finally got them, and we're going to revert to our initial places. So we got a bit of a standoff, not the decisive combat we perhaps would have wanted, but they retreat a bit anyway, and we can continue on our way and scout more. So now actually we got a diplomatic proposal from the Wu faction, the one we want to take out, and they propose a fraternal harmony pact. And what that means is that it's not an alliance, but it is a step closer to that. What it means is that we promise not only to not fight like a normal neutral pact would mean, but we also promise not to raid each other's trade lines, not to pillage each other's farms, etc. So we're going to decline because obviously we're going to kick their asses, but they are not pleased. We got some more events this turn. For example, we got a 3-horned ox, and this is a great sign, of course, for us, and a good omen. And there is much rejoicing, so that gives us a nice popularity boost. In the meantime, we're going to have our troops continue their advance, so that's going to be nice. And of course there's the battle report of the battle we just fought, and I'm going to get into army tactics and statistics quite a bit more in a bit. We saw it was fully automated, but there's actually a lot you can do in advance of the battle in order to influence the outcome. and I'm just sending more scouts out and about to help them. Let's see. So you can also set them to automatically scout. By the way, I'm doing it manually now, but you can hit the auto scout button, and they'll just go on their way. Having done that, we also so in the meantime, I'm preparing this town of Yi to become a fully fledged military center with all the recruitment facilities in place. So, for example, we got bowyers here, we got weaponsmiths, we got barracks, and we got an armorer, and they ensure that we can train some proper units with good defensive bonuses as well. So we just finished our new armor, and that means that our regular infantry will actually get a boost to defense. And you'll actually see that reflected in game, which is really nice. You'll see that they're wearing a different type of armor.
Okay, Bart. Another question.
Yeah, that's actually quite a good question over here. So obviously we have to take some liberties when it comes to the actual history. What the game tries to do is it tries to capture the greater trends that were taking place during this time. So you can conquer a lot of China, or you can convince everyone within like perhaps even 70 years more or less, even though a turn does not equate a year specifically. But it's more about the bigger movements going from warring clans to warring states, and eventually to big nations fighting it out in the later times with gunpowder units, etc. Also, I should point out that actually what you would think of in-game as conquering is not necessarily what happens historically with conquering. So historically, someone would say, I conquered this particular part, as long as the leader just admitted, okay, you're the guy in charge now. So you can do this as well, but let's just quickly go to the victory conditions, and I can show you a bit better how exactly this works.
One thing, ours as well, we having sound problems.
I'm not muting yours, but I can keep it unmuted.
Because people are saying that our sound is cut off each time.
In the middle of the question.
Like in the middle of the question, so maybe it's you muting the microphone.
That's not it, but I'll keep it open so you can just talk through my microphone. I'll check in a bit if I can do anything on your end.
It's like a key binding.
No.
Game or
No.
Well,
But yeah. So I'm just gonna keep the sound open here then.
that seems to fix it.
So over here we can see the general player information. We can see who we are, what we do, but we can also see our victory status. So there are 4 types of victory locations, and we got the conquest victory, Son of Heaven victory, the cultural victory, or just the regular points victory. And the points victory is of course kicked in as soon as the number of turn limit has been reached, but the turn limit can be set by the player himself. The conquest victory just means you become the most dominant force that is out there, so you'll have a much bigger empire than the number 2. You don't have to conquer 100% of the world for it to work, but there has to be such a difference between your power and that of the rest that you're by default the strongest. Cultural victory means you have the most cultural, or you achieve the amount of cultural points needed in order to win, and that has to be 50% more than the second highest player. So that means building temples, getting enlightenment, and those types of things. Then there's the Son of Heaven victory, which is to me the coolest victory condition, and that basically means that all the other factions, whether they like you or not, whether they're at war with you or not, they acknowledge that you are the proper emperor of China. So emperor only in name, but still there's a lot of gravity to that title. So if you can convince them either through bribes, through force, that you're the emperor, and you can convince enough people, you'll win the game. So in the meantime, we're just going to continue and go. Stick without orders, that's fine. Let's get into some combat. So as you can see, you can speed up turn resolution even with if battles occur, such as here. We're still fighting the archers, but like I said, this army to me doesn't serve any purpose anymore, so it might as well just scout what it can while it can, and perhaps die on the way. And there's news of peace. 2 of my northern neighbors have just made peace, which is not good, because that means they might join up and go to war against me. I got 1 town over here which has a bit of a garrison to it, but not a whole lot, that is really pressured by the opposing factions. Especially with this army coming close, they might just decide to go south, start raiding my farms, etc. So let's select this town and let's order the construction of some bigger walls. We probably need to have a palace first, so let's do that. One of the things you should be very wary of in this game is that you take into account that all buildings, or nearly all buildings, cost upkeep, and the upkeep is quite significant. So you don't want to overbuild. You don't want to build useless buildings where you're not going to use them. That's just really a waste of money. We can also see that now the first road connections are up and running, so I'm slowly going to build more of those to speed up transport between these towns. We're going to set you guys to auto-explore, and our armies are going to slowly march on. I should probably reinforce the town of Dalian at this point, because it is very vulnerable to a counterattack. And of course we got more battles coming out. There's actually a civil war that has broken out between the within the Dongyi faction. I didn't notice that before, but we're seeing that right now. That these guys have split off from the original faction and started their own, and you'll see this happen a lot in game, and we'll keep it alive. So you'll see factions split off, civil wars going about. And together with the random events like the disease outbreak, which is very, very, very unfortunate here. We need to build a palisade, by the way. Means that you'll really feel like the world is alive around you. Stuff is happening even if you are not doing stuff. And we need to do more farming, so I'm queuing up more farms for each city. You also see different icons here for the farms. So these are regular farming icons. These are different icon. These are irrigated farms. So farms I've already constructed here, but I can essentially upgrade them as long as they're near a river or near a different irrigated farm. So that's it is a technology you have to research, but it is very useful in the long term. So is there a dynasty management, or is it more like EU4? There is not really dynasty management from that. In that you have to, so you have to keep your people happy, but you don't have really characters you interact with. So you got your characters on the map, they're your generals or your governors, but you don't have internal clans struggles or whatever. You're really focused on outward expansion mostly. As long as you keep them happy, you can keep on fighting. There we go. And our capital is already very large in size, 75 population. You'll remember that we started the first town with 10. When you found a new settlement, you start out with 2. These guys have been growing a lot, but now we need to clear some forests in order to make more room for farms. Although, there's still some space here. I actually find a scout party by the Wu faction that are now seeing our army, and they know that they are the only ones in the direction that my army is going. So I might be expecting something by now, so I need to reinforce these guys. And we need to start building a palisade. And here we actually, as we can see from the notice, we started looting. So our advance party has reached the farms, and while we're not officially at war yet, we don't have that Fraternal Harmony pack, so we can just loot them as we please. And not only will it deny them resources, it will actually give us some money. So you get 50 gold from every field you loot. So especially in early game, this is a great strategy to get your early economy going.
Okay, Bart, we have another question. Katanak is asking if there are going to be any naval battles.
Yes, we're definitely going to have naval units in-game. They're not in this particular build yet, but they are very much in development, and they will make it into the full game. This includes naval transport and naval ships that will fight each other. I'm going to speed it up here. There's actually more combat going on. Oop. Over here near the town. So while the main faction made peace with the red guys over here, the rebels that split up of the Dungi rebel faction, they actually continued the war, even though I think they're not very strong, so I don't think they can do much more other than just a bit of looting. We also got a lot of technologies finished, so we're going to head back to the factory right now to see what else we can research. And actually we need to let's invest in better siege equipment, since we are expecting to go to war. There are a lot of walled cities out there by now. In early game you won't have those so much, and for these walled cities we definitely need to have proper siege equipment to break through. And also I'd like to get into better armor, so we can let's go for the Iron Foundry first, because it also leads to some nice farming upgrades. And over here, let's see what we need. So this one's quite nice, as it increases the thought development rate by 15%. So this is a nice bonus. So let's get this one going as early as possible. As we also almost finished the Flaming Pitch, which will allow our archers to shoot fire arrows, and that will allow them to actually destroy wooden structures and walls. So we have some more loot. There's news of peace. The Chu and the Shu made peace. That's very good. And the Chu and the Ba made peace. That's very good, considering they are my vassals. I don't want to see them die. And this army, they're finally sent out a bigger army to hold the pass here. You can also see the vast difference in geography, right? So where I'm at, where I started, and to my north and northwest are these vast plains with large farming fields. Whereas if we had over here, we can see mountain ranges where movement is very difficult, and the positioning of armies becomes very, very important. Like holding one of these mountain passes can prove vital.
So Bart, another question. Kiko Mantria. Maybe I explained it already a little bit, but could you explain a little bit in more detail how trade actually works?
Okay, so trade is a bit of a tricky one, as it is a very big topic and a very big part in game. So when we look at our empire like we are seeing right now, we can see all these lines going from different cities to other cities. These lines represent trade. Trade works by building markets, and markets will export goods to nearby towns. These markets, the goods these markets export is based on the type of structures you have in a specific settlement. So if we look over here, for example, our capital and our main place of export, we have, if we look at the income and for external trade, we can see that we are trading local specialties, we're trading ceramics, and we can actually start trading more as long as we build more. So I probably need to build a silk weaver over here, so we can add that to our trading goods. So that produces silk for trade. Other things can be stuff you mine, like jade or iron or copper, sorry, and trading these will get your economy going. And the amount of trade that will flow from one city to another is based on the amount of people that actually live in a specific settlement. So the bigger your market is, you know, the more people you have to sell for, to, the more money you will make. And also you can make you can have trade with other factions as well if they are within range. So I hope that answers. That's like the basic of trade. There's a whole lot more to it, but it's not really. It's beyond the scope of this stream to cover it in such detail. So we just declared war to the other factions, and I don't think we have actually brought any units because they put up a wall over here to destroy the wall as of yet, because we're probably waiting for the flaming pitch technology to become available in 4 turns. But we can continue raiding and plundering.
So Bart, I have another question for you from Wako2k again. He's asking, how advanced is the combat AI, and will a good and experienced general command units during the auto-resolve better than a bad general?
So how good the AI makes use of all the tactics and strategies, or will make use in the final build, I should say, of all the tactics and strategies the human has access to. And I'm going to show you these tactics actually right now. I think that's a good moment. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
The second part is, will a good and experienced general command units during the auto-resolve battle than a bad general?
Right, so that is definitely the case. So a good general, and generals have different ratings. I'm just going to talk through these right here. A good general will bring better morale checks to the troops he's leading. So if you have a general in his stack, they will get morale boost. That will means they will continue to fight much longer than they otherwise would. Plus the fact that good generals also fight well themselves. So they definitely add something into combat. The other thing is, so we discussed a bit the tactics. So if I select my units over here, we can see they're deployed in 2 lines, the yellow line and the red line. But there are different ways you can organize them. You can organize them in like more of a column or an in-depth formation or a complete marching column. And of course, this also depends on what you want to do with these guys. If you want to assault a city, for example, you don't want to have them spread out by definition. If they get a lot of arrows shot at them, you'll want to have these units, for example, in the back because they don't have any shields. You want to have the guys with the big armor, the big shields leading the advance. And you can actually just move them around like this and change the formation as you like. So that's one way you can impact whatever happens during combat. The other thing you can do, and I'm going to just move them back to the default formation over here, is to give either the stack or each specific unit a more detailed task to do in combat. So you can tell them to just attack as soon as possible and use missiles first, or not even use their missiles first, just go into melee as soon as you can. You can choose to harass the enemy, so use fire, use threatening positions, and then fall back again. So this way you get combat that lasts for several turns, where really you're tiring out the enemy. This is very good for horse archers, for example, which we'll see much more in the north than in this particular area. There's the outflank, there's the ambush, which only works if you're like hidden in forest, etc. Regular defend, or just defend and withdraw as soon as possible. And there's the reserve, so stay in position until you find something useful to do. And you can do this for each one individually, so I can tell these guys, for example, to outflank the enemy, while the rest just charge in, or while the rest perhaps hold their ground. You can also let your general hold his ground while the rest charge in if you want to make sure you preserve him for combat. So that's why I'm saying that even though you don't control the combat directly, there are a lot of ways in which you can influence it. So I hope that kind of answers your question. And unfortunately there's some sickness. Where is that? One of our scouting parties has fallen ill. That's okay though. And our lands have been pillaged. That's not very good. Where have our lands been pillaged? Over here. So it's a good thing we reinforce this town. So we're gonna send them out to. No, we're just gonna keep them in there. Let's not risk it. We're gonna send some reinforcements from the town of Yi. So we're going to send in some spearmen to deal with their chariots.
So Bart, another question. Can another army assist an allied army during an ongoing battle?
Yes, definitely. So what we see here, for example, is the biggest stack you can have, but it's not by definition the biggest army that can fight in a battle. So if I got 8 groups on this tile, I can have 8 on the other tiles as well, and they will all fight together if the enemy is in range of each of them. So even during a battle, you may see that armies get reinforced because someone's just moving onto the battlefield, and this includes for allies of other factions as well. They will join you in combat. There's something interesting happening over here, which is not very good for me, but very good actually to show you guys, as it has to do something with unrest. So right now our farms are being pillaged, and as a result there's not enough food for all the people in there. So we're only producing like 11 food, and we got like 17 people here. So we can also see the population is decreasing, and as a result people get unhappy. So we got a higher level of unrest. We got the exclamation mark here, and it could very well be that the people will just say, okay, you can no longer protect me, we'll revolt, we'll rebel, we'll become independent, and that's always a danger. So like I said, not very good for me, but very interesting to show you guys, and also something you really have to be wary of. The good thing is I know we're hurting them a hell of a lot more than they're hurting us. Are they actually attacking? They're actually trying to take the town now, but they're a very small group. You'll see that they actually dismounted from their chariots in order to assault the city, which makes a lot of sense. So we got combat going on. In the meantime, we have our armies moving up to the different to the 2 cities we're actually attacking. So while this one is fairly small and not very worthwhile, the one over here is one of their bigger towns. You can see a vast amount of farmlands around it. Again, we can see the smoke from the loot. We got the loot, and there are some bandits spotted. If your people are unhappy, that will also cause some bandits to spawn, so people leaving your town and decide to fight for their own. And they can actually continue pillaging and hurting you if they left unattended. Unfortunately, I have to stay in my town because there is the enemy close by. Good news is our army is fairly close there, but they have to go through the forest in order to get there. And I think my flaming arrow technology is right around the corner, 2 turns. So this is actually not going too bad, although this particular town, but it's not of very much importance to me. It's not connected to my trade hub. It's not something that produces something unique. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about the force buildup over here. I'm still on good terms with the red faction, so they're not pillaging me. And I have a general in the area. But all my professional troops, my regulars, are going south to fight the WHO, so I don't have a lot of strong troops to guard my northern borders, should they come and attack. There's also one other thing I'd like to show you while we're at this, actually, which is the edict system. So there are a lot of edicts, and these are like rules or regulations you put out as a ruler, and they will advance you as a nation. So for example, issuing the Wellfield system I did a while ago gives me some additional unrest, but it allows me to tax more, so just gain more money. And there are a couple like these, and one of these I can do now is to install a central bureaucracy, and this will increase the noble unrest for quite a bit initially, because we're basically taking power away from the nobles. But it will give us a bureaucrat character, which is very good for governing cities, and it will also lower the peasant unrest and gives us more authority. In addition, it unlocks new edicts we can do, such as private land ownership, land distribution, and salt tax, which will also give us more money in time. The downside of this edict, because it may sound very good, is that it will cost us 500 gold per turn, and as you can see, we're only in the plus by just a bit more. So it is something you should do only when your economy is very stable. But I think I got a very good economy at the moment. I also think I got a nice bit of buffer in my pocket, so I'm going to issue it right now. And in the next couple of turns, we can issue more edicts to further evolve our state.
So Bart, we have another couple of interesting questions in the chat. The first one is, can you build forts and fortify river crossings or mountain passes?
No, this is not in-game at the moment. So the only fortifications that are in-game at the moment are the towns and cities.
Right, and so Memnon is asking, he needs advice, what he needs to build to keep his city happy. Because at the moment that's his worst problem with playing. Do you have some tips for him?
Close beta.
Yeah.
Right. So keeping your citizens happy is can be fairly challenging. Actually, we got some battle going on right here. Should focus on. So keeping your citizens happy is fairly important. One of the major things, most important things you can do is not let your people labor too much for you. Every time you order them to do something, it keeps them away from their private farms, making money, growing their own food, etc. So that's one of the things you can keep it low. One of the major causes of unrest is often the fact that they have to do forced labor. Now the other thing is, and I think we're encountering a bug here, guys, so bear with me here. The other thing you can do is to build specific buildings. So if you research like the 5 punishments technology, you can build a court that will actually increase the or decrease, the peasant unrest for people if you, in places where you've built that specific building. Then there are also specific temples that can give you bonuses, and of course, like I said, the edicts you can issue. So the one I just issued has like a minus percentage for peasant unrest, assuming that peasant unrest is your issue and not so much noble unrest, which is an entirely different cause. Unfortunately, though, I think I'm going to have to shut down the game real quick because we are stuck in a loop. Like I said, this is a in-development build, so many of these things will change. We will find errors, and we just encountered one of them. And I'm just going to quickly reboot over here because we were just going into the good part over here. So I'm just going to kill the game.
Starting up a new game, Bart. We have another question from Kiko Mantria, and it's about trade again. He's wondering if you can have like a monopoly on a trade resource, or make a resource your speciality. So, for example, that he can make an empire that's best with jade or silk, and that will make the other empires want to buy the jade more than the other empires' jade.
That's currently not how trade works, really. So there is each town by default creates a couple of unique resources, but it is not the way that you can hoard all the jade for yourself and raise the price that way. Just gonna load the autosave here, and again, sorry I had to kill the game there, but let's see if we can prevent it from happening this time around. Just gonna order them all into the regular. Yeah, we managed to get through the turn this time around, so that's good. But we can see there's actually an army forming to meet us. It's not overly big, but it can definitely hurt us. Also, they are quite experienced, so they have seen some combat already. So they might cause me some significant casualties.
So Bart, I have another question here from Wacko2k. He asks, what kind of diplomacy features are there to destroy your enemies without declaring war on them? For example, assassinations or espionage.
So if you really want to destroy them, you at some point you will either have to march into their cities with an army, or you will have to plunder and loot them so much without actually declaring war that all their cities will rebel. They are the main things you can do. There is no type of espionage system as such in there where you can destroy specific characters. So it's really, I think plundering is a great way to hurt really someone without formally declaring war on them. You can see here what it can do. The town is losing people, the people are losing trust in their leader, they might actually rebel at some point. Okay, so we did pretty well here, still suffered some casualties. It's a good thing they don't have archers inside. If they have archers inside, they actually deal additional damage to people sieging the town. Do we have archers here? Yes. I think it's one more turn for Flaming Pitch, so very soon we're going to start breaking down these walls. And here our final army is being met by the proper army of the Ba, so our scouting army is going to die now. And we're going to honor them, they were very brave. But I don't really mind seeing them dead, they were useless in the end. But you can see the AI knows how to form proper armies and defend their territory. And actually give chase. Okay, so we encountered new power, the Dongyi rebels. Yes, we know they were there. We finished our Silk Weavers, so that's very good. So we're going to start making even more money from trade now. Our army was destroyed and there was a disease outbreak in Yi, which is not very good because that's our main place for recruiting troops. And also I see that our we really need to grow this town actually, so we can build more buildings. We're out of building slots, and we need to build the artillery camp so we can start recruiting some. We can actually build it another time, I suppose. I suppose we could build it in Yi as well, so we can get some proper siege artillery out there. So now that we have the flaming arrows, we're going to try to start an attack them and see if we can kill their walls. Let's see if we can make peace with the Ba faction, by the way, because I don't think fighting them is much use. Let's propose a truce, peace, which is like a reasonably balanced proposal. They don't accept, so let's see if we can offer them some money to in order to keep the peace. Just a small bit, but quite significant still. So they accept now, so we're no longer at war with them, so that's quite good. Let's do the same for the Shu, even though they are much weaker than I am. I don't really feel like fighting a war on two fronts.
So Bart, what operating systems will Oriental Empires come out?
So we're primarily looking at PC at this point, though we are looking into the doing Mac and Linux, but at the moment we can only promise PC. Technology warning, yes. This one's quite good actually. Yeah, so researching mathematics gives us a higher development rate, so that will increase the speed of future research, so let's go with that. You can see the research tree is quite extensive actually, so I didn't go over into any details about each of them, but they all have their own specific advantages, disadvantages. Some things I didn't do for now because I didn't focus on cavalry, for example. I didn't research horse riding, which would have probably been a good idea by now, though I missed that chance. I can still do it now, but right now in this part of the game I need other research more. But you can see they really are specializing in some ways. Should probably also start researching bow units at some point. I already have bow units, but the composite bows give you also the ability to recruit noble archers as well, rather than just the regular ones.
So Bart, another quick question here. Is it possible to upgrade old troops with new equipment and training once those are researched? Or is every unit locked into place once recruited?
So that's actually something we are currently looking into. At the moment it is not possible to upgrade your units, but we are looking to see if there's a good way we can make it work without breaking anything important. But the way it currently works is that units, once they're out there, they're out there. They can't be retrained or upgraded. Also in the current build, for example, there's no way for units to resupply and to regain their strength, but that will be changed very soon. So we can see we're actually fighting in front of the walls. Archers are shooting fire arrows at the walls, but they're not really making any major progress, unfortunately. And all the while they're being attacked in the flank, but the infantry is doing its job to keep them at bay, so the archers can just continue firing. Let's just speed up a bit to see if we can actually break through. So we got a reinforcements army from the Wu faction, and that's engaging our infantry right now, but we did make a breach into town, and we might actually make a second one at some point, hopefully. But our archers are definitely doing their job. Now we're routing the second army. And this is what I said earlier about reinforcements can come in. So we were fighting with an army over here, but an army from here was advancing in our position and actually joined in as soon as they were able. So that's a very neat way, and that's something you don't normally see in turn-based strategy games. So we're going into town, and while we did not actually, we did fight with them, we didn't manage to break through, and we're going to continue the siege as we were. On the other front, we did manage to take the town, so our archers managed to break through. Oh, that's a good one. Yes, let's keep the peace. Is there siege weaponry? Yes, there is. So I just actually ordered the construction of a factory that can provide me with that. They'll be done in one turn, and then I can recruit some proper siege units, and they will break through those city walls a lot faster than my archers will. But in the earlier part of the game, the archers are the way to break down walls. Here, unfortunately, we haven't managed yet, possibly only because we've only got 2 archer units, whereas if we had 3, it might have been easier. But we did damage them a lot, so if we can just kill them off, we should be good as well. Let's see if we can recruit some more guys to the south. There we go. So I can't recruit a full stack in one turn, so I have to wait a bit, but these guys are quite strong. Here there was a battle as well, apparently. Let's see from the battle report what exactly happened. So nobody fought, nobody died, so they managed to keep their distance well, but they didn't actually manage to kill any of my guys. We're just going to continue to try and attack them. In the meantime, yeah, we're keeping the peace with the rest of the factions. Most of them like me, so we're just going to continue and see if we can siege them. The problem is, because I'm fighting so long here and I've been pillaging them so much, that once I actually get the city isn't really worth a whole lot, right? People are dying from hunger. It's really a mess, and it will take a significant amount of time to build up. So you can also just say, I'm going to sack it, I'm going to leave it as is, or I'm just going to actually just raze it to the ground. I don't want to have this city here any longer. And that's actually something I did before with some enemies that found the cities very close near to mine. So more fighting going on. We're trying to break through the walls, through the gates. I think we should be able to break through this time. No? Almost. Ah, yes, we did eventually manage to break through. Our secondary army is entering to occupy the city. And we can see the remains of the other army scattered around, retreated. They're weakened, they're single units only. Some tribalmen, some militiamen. But they're done, and we have taken the town. Now, once you've taken the town, you can choose one of three things, like I just mentioned. So we can occupy it, sack it, or destroy it. And I'm going to leave it up to you guys what we're going to do with this specific town we just took. So, should we just occupy it and integrate it into our empire? Should we sack it and get as much money from it as we can? Should we destroy it and just raze it to the ground? So that would mean killing all citizens inside. So that's also a nice statistic they're keeping. I can see sacking, sacking, and sacking. So we're going to sack that settlement, and we're going to take some serious loot from it. There we go. People aren't quite happy, but this is quite good. It's quite useful now. I mean, the city needs some work anyway to rebuild. But now we have to decide what to do if we're going to use this army to push on. You can see, however, that from the green lines over here, we can see that the army is actually damaged quite a bit. So they are weakened. But from the yellow ones, we can see that their readiness has dropped. So if an army keeps fighting and fighting and fighting, their readiness drops and they'll be less and less efficient and more prone to retreat. So at some point, you need to give them some rest to regroup. And that's what we're going to do right now, as long as our enemies won't actually attack us. In the meantime, I should actually start automating some stuff. So you can set automation if your empire gets too big, like I don't want to deal with farming anymore, I want to focus on something else, automate it, or just generally new settlements you get into. Let's have a quick look at influence. This is a good point to discuss culture and authority. Authority basically allows you to control a lot of cities, and it grows slowly. You actually lose authority if you start losing battles, or if you lose characters, or if you lose like a leader without an heir, your authority drops to 0 and your nobles will start to revolt. You need authority to keep your nobles in check. Culture is needed to keep your people in check. So the more cultured you are, the less prone they are to revolt. And you gain your culture by doing technologies mainly, but also specific buildings. So having done that, we actually got a huge ass army over here, which didn't really take any damage. So we're gonna what should we do with this one, guys? Should we occupy it, sack it, or destroy it? It's not really a significant town. It's quite small, and it's not really has any strategic position. So we could do with destroying it if you guys feel like it, and kill some civilians. Just regular occupy. Destroy. That's cheating. I see occupy, so we're just gonna keep them occupied for now. There we go. So we're gonna integrate them into our awesome empire, and we're gonna send out the biggest chunk of the army. This is a militia army, not a professional one, but we're gonna send them to assist the war over here. But at the very least now, as soon as we mop up these guys, we will have pushed them back underneath the river. So that means that we got this whole fertile land for us, including 2 rhino resources, and these are very good because if you occupy these resources, you'll get another 60 gold bonus every turn. So I think that's going quite well. I need to give some attention to my capital actually, because we need to clear some land. So people are becoming a bit unhappy because I make them work so much for me, so I need to recruit some more nobles to keep them in check. Is there a religion aspect in-game is a question by Celestial Guy. So yes, there is a religion aspect, but it is not like other games where you just pick a religion and that's your state religion. So in ancient China, a lot of these philosophies developed in parallel, and this is reflected in the tech tree mostly, and some specific thought selections will give you access to specific temples, for example, which you will then be able to build, like a Confucian temple, a Taoist temple, etc. And you can build these, and these all provide specific bonuses for your nation. And we can actually see that our annoying vassal, the Chu faction, the blue ones here, founded the town very close to me again, and they actually had one before over here, and I raided it and destroyed it. That was before they were my vassals, so now I can choose to destroy it if I find it annoying, but that would break the agreement we have. And since I'm in war on another front, don't think I will do it, though I am very much annoyed with it because I wanted these resources over here, the rhinoceros, and also this will prevent my town later on when it grows bigger to expand into that direction. So I'm not really pleased with my vassal at the moment. So I'm just gonna send these guys out to take out the bandits. And the Wu faction guys are trying to regroup, perhaps even try to cross the river again, but we intercept them and fight them off. And they're getting weaker and weaker every time they try. In the meantime, our enemies are fighting each other, which is always a great thing. But also one of the final things I'd like to share with you guys is just how big the map is. So all of this time we've been focusing on this specific area of the map, which is already quite a lot of ground to cover. You saw how many turns it took for the troops to move about, but we can go south a hell of a lot further, all the way up to here, and we can go north even further, and already at some point send out some scout to do so. But I actually kind of forgot about him. But you can see how much more we can there is to discover. So there are factions fighting about that we haven't even found yet, and that's a good way to illustrate that in the statistics screen. So in this screen we can see everything from the amount of victory points per faction to the amount of culture victory points, number of settlements, number of population, number of military strength, number of battles fought, civilians killed. So I actually killed quite a few people already, raiding towns and such, how many enemy soldiers you killed, and how many soldiers you lost, and of course the regular construction development. And you can see this like we're doing now only for known players, so only for factions I've actually found and scouted. But if I turn this off, and this is actually a bit of cheating, we can see all the factions out there, or at least that are still out there. A couple might have been actually destroyed already. And like I said, these are factions we haven't even found yet. They're fighting their own battles, their own wars. So if you choose a different starting faction in this game, like for example one of the more nomad factions to the very north, you will have a very different playing experience. You'll meet different other factions, you'll vie for different resources and different maps spaces. So that's just one of the things I wanted to share with you there. And I think we're almost toward the running out of time. I'm not sure. Yeah. So we're running out of time here, unfortunately. At least I got to show you at least some siegecraft and taking some town. We're going to continue this war perhaps at a later date if we can get to it. And other than that, I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. If you have any further questions, drop on our forums or go to our Facebook channels or whatever and type them in there, and we'll be sure to answer them. Thanks again for watching. I hope you had a great time watching, and more of course about Oriental Empires will come very soon as more news comes available. This was an in-development build, so things will change from what you saw here, but I hope you've gotten a good taste of what there is to come, and we'll of course keep you informed. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.